is over, 11. You have freed me. You can't stop this now.
Welcome back, everyone. This will be my Stranger Things Season 4 Part 2 trailer for the final episodes, which are going to air later this year. There's a bunch of new footage. Also explain everything that was going on with the Vecna in Season 4 Part 1, 11 getting her powers back, and what they were trying to set up, and what's going on with Season 5, because they did confirm that they are making Season 5. That'll be the final season. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos, and careful for spoilers from Season 4 Part 1 if you haven't seen those episodes yet, because we have to talk about everything that happened, all the big reveals. In the trailer for Stranger Things Season 4 Part 2, you have the voice of the Vecna, the older version of Henry Creel, speaking to 11 from the Upside Down, reaching out to her telepathically through the gate saying, "It's over, you freed me, you can't stop this now." And in a bunch of different places, both in the Upside Down, Hopper, Joyce, and Murray still in Russia, 11, everyone all over the place, fighting the forces of the Mind Flayer. And what the Vecna, Henry Creel, number 1, is talking about during that is that he's killed enough kids, gained enough power to weaken the barrier between the Upside Down dimension and the real world for all the other minions of the Mind Flayer to invade and try to conquer the regular dimension. We're talking armies of Demogorgons, Demodogs, the winged bats that we saw for the first time in Season 4, and the Vecna himself just crossing over into the barrier. He's been freed, like he can re-enter the normal world now. There's enough gates. The reason Vecna is telling 11 she can't stop him now is just mostly more of him playing mind games with her, like trying to mess with her head. But the whole thing in Season 4 is that Dr. Owens and Dr. Brenner, who's still alive, surprise, everything they did during her storyline was to bring 11's powers back and strengthen them, like she's coming back with a big upgrade, the same way that Vecna just got a big upgrade after killing all the kids. When he's revealing his true backstory to both 11 and then to Nancy in the Upside Down when she's getting all those visions, he reveals that each time he killed someone, it made him stronger. But I think what he's trying to say is that he learned more about his ability the more people that he killed. It's not like he's sucking up extra power. It's the same thing with 11. Like, they were born as powerful as they're ever going to become. They just didn't realize how powerful they were or truly understand their ability until present day. That's why when Dr. Brenner talks about bringing 11's powers back, he's trying to fix her brain, but also they'll be even stronger when she comes back because she'll understand more about how they actually work. Also, they want to tell you that she's going to be as powerful as the Vecna, as Henry Creel, when he shows up and they actually get into a fist fight. Like, they'll have their wizard battle, but then they'll have an actual physical battle too. In the trailer, there's footage of them fighting the forces of the Vecna and the Mind Flayer in both the Upside Down, like Steve and Nancy look like they're trying to free Robin from the wall around them, and it looks like they're back in the Upside Down. They were in the middle of using the portal at Eddie's house when the Vecna killed Chrissy, but then something happened to Nancy when she was traveling through. The Vecna somehow got into her head and was talking to her, revealing all these things about her backstory. So Nancy was still trapped. They had to free her somehow. That's probably why they wind up back in the Upside Down. Separately, you see more footage of Hopper, Murray, and Joyce back in Russia, it seems like, examining the other facility that the Russians were using, the Russian military, studying Demogorgons that they captured. This whole thing with the facility, the swirling black cloud, is them watching the remnants of the Russian gate that we saw during Season 3 back in Siberia when the Russians were trying to open their new gate unsuccessfully, or kind of successfully. Remember, Hopper's group hasn't come back from Russia yet, so all the stuff that's happening with him is still happening inside Russia. But first things first, everyone asking about Vecna's backstory. What does Vecna have to do with the Mind Flayer? Who is the ultimate big villain of Stranger Things just in general? Like, who is the real villain here? So Henry Creel, number 1, Vecna, is not the true main villain. Dustin, aka Dusty Buns, had this line of dialogue in one of the earlier episodes where he kind of explained the entire hierarchy of power in Stranger Things, and it was meant as a throwaway line, but it was actually meant to be really important because it tells you about who the real big bad is.
Wait, what?
Do we know that wants to take over the world? The Mind Flayer. So if the Demogorgon was just his foot soldier, Vecna's his 5-star general.
Dustin, aka Dusty Buns, as I said earlier, reveals that the Mind Flayer is the true ultimate villain of the Upside Down dimension, like the true ruler of this other red formless space when Henry Creel enters it. In the Vecna, Henry Creel is just its general, so during Season 4, it's using Vecna, number 1, to invade the real world and conquer the normal dimension. Quick backstory on the Vecna, though. The biggest thing they reveal about him, he is the former number 1, the first test subject with powers that Dr. Brenner found and started experimenting on 27 years ago in the late 50s. Henry Creel was just this normal child that discovered he had powers and eventually went a little bit crazy, killed his family, also driving his father, Victor Creel, insane, putting him in a mental institution. That was the whole idea in casting the actor who had formerly been known as Freddy Krueger as his father, because there's a very Freddy Krueger vibe with the Vecna, very Dream Warriors, Nightmare on Elm Street vibe. But then Dr. Brenner gained control of the young Henry Creel and tried to control him at first. When he found out that he couldn't, he developed a special program for little kids that Eleven eventually became part of when she was born later, minting him as the number one. They never explain why Henry Creel, Eleven, the other kids are all born with powers. They might wait till season 5 to do that. It's still a huge hanging plot thread. Either it's going to be an X-Men thing where they're all just meant to be this natural biological evolution of normal people, or something that the Mind Flayer did earlier in the timeline, often his dimension of the Upside Down, caused people to start developing powers in other dimensions as he was beginning to invade them. Either way, so far on the show, we've never seen any other new kids younger than 11 show up with powers after the events of Season 1, when we also learned that Vecna, Henry Creel, when he was still human, killed all those other test subjects. Because if people were developing powers naturally just as this regular biological evolution, wouldn't there be other brand new kids popping up all over the world in present day with powers? And we haven't seen that yet. So it sounds like something about these kids specially developing powers might have something to do with the Mind Flayer itself. So as Dr. Brenner's program grew along the years, more kids like 11 showed up with powers, experiments continued, Henry Creel naturally just got older and older. By the time 11 shows up in the 1970s, he's in his 30s, and Dr. Brenner is just pretending that he's one of the other orderlies helping manage the new kids. When that happened, as part of this idea that he can't control number one anymore, he implanted this bomb inside his neck as a failsafe device. But before he reveals the depth of his craziness that he's really trying to take over the world, 11 still thinks that he's a good person, wants to help him, and takes the bomb out of his neck. That's when he starts going around killing everyone because they have no failsafe device against him. 11 learns the truth about Henry Creel, defeats him, but when she does, she attacks him with so much power that they make it seem like she just disintegrates him into nothingness, but the force of her power that she uses on him is so great that it rips a hole in space and time across dimensions, opening the original Hawkins Gate from Season 1. So the whole idea is that right after this moment here, she suffers all this trauma and kind of blocks the memory of what really happened in her mind, but then the events of the beginning of Season 1 play out. She uses the card that Henry Creel had given to her to escape the facility, goes on the run, you have all the funny moments with the Eggos, Hopper finds her, kind of adopts her, she finds the other kids, becomes friends with them. All the while forgetting about what really happened with Henry Creel being pushed into the Upside Down. It's not till later in the timeline during Season 1 where Dr. Brenner is experimenting with the Upside Down, trying to enter and find out what's going on inside there. There's also this whole thing with the Upside Down being frozen back in time just a couple years, frozen at the time period when she pushed him in. As if when she pushed him in and he became the Vecna, time froze and then just continued on in normal present day. That's why Nancy thinks that they're stuck in the past when they're in the Upside Down, and in present day, it's a couple years in the future. So what's happening here in this final scene where you see what happens to Henry Creel in the Upside Down is that when she pushed him through dimensions, opening that first gate, this is what the Upside Down looked like, just this formless mass of red energy and nothingness. This vast empty space. So what's happening here with him being hit with all the lightning and being slowly transformed into the Vecna creature is the Mind Flayer sensing him when he entered and essentially taking him over, twisting him to his side. And the Mind Flayer is what causes the Vecna to look like this with all the tendrils, the connections to the organic creatures in the Upside Down. Henry Creel isn't the person that did this. Like, this is what he actually looked like when he went into the other dimension being hit by the lightning strikes. They just singed him a little bit, burnt his hair off a little. All these other weird connections to all these other creatures in the Upside Down are because of the Mind Flayer. The Mind Flayer is essentially using another person with the same powers as 11 to conquer their dimension, using their own against them, essentially. It's just busy trying to open portals all over the planet so that when it invades all over the place, not just inside Hawkins. Hawkins just happens to be a locus of a lot of its power inside the real world. So just to be clear, Henry Creel, aka Vecna, is not the ultimate villain of Stranger Things. He's just like the next step up on the food chain. It's really all about the Mind Flayer, and we saw a vision of that during Season 2 when it was watching them from the Upside Down. Number one here is just its puppet, so to speak. But when it comes to them defeating Vecna, they set up this whole running storyline with music. They made this whole big thing about how music and people's songs were really important to freeing them from the influence of the Vecna. If you remember one of the earlier trailers, there's actually footage from the Season 4 Part 2 finale in that earlier trailer. They just didn't tell us it was from the final episodes. You see Eddie's band playing heavy metal music on top of his trailer in the Upside Down, like they used the gate inside his trailer to carry all their gear into the Upside Down, and they're playing music to probably try and fight the forces of the Vecna. They had this whole joke in previous seasons about the never-ending story with Dustin and his girlfriend kind of singing that while they were saving the world. I think they're trying to bring back around that kind of thing. Like there'll be some kind of music that they will have to sing to defeat the Vecna in the season finale.
Liar fantasy.
It's right here, it's right here. I got it. Now!
That's why all the different characters were talking about songs being very important when talking about the Vecna. I know there are a lot of questions about the other storylines too, like what was going on with Will's painting that he wanted to give to Mike, this big secret painting that they kept referencing in all the episodes but you never saw. Previously on the show, Will had painted things having to do with the Mind Flayer, but he kept having visions of it after they'd rescued him. They also teased this whole subplot where they were trying to make it feel like he was coming out, so to speak, to Mike, like his best friend, tell him this big secret about himself. Like the painting was meant to have this double meaning, and that's why he didn't want Eleven to see it, because he would tell his friends immediately if it was just about the Mind Flayer, like, oh, we're in danger, we need to stop this. That's why I think it also had something to do about like some innate aspect of him coming out to Mike, who's supposed to be like his best friend. But because most of his drawings do have something to do with the Mind Flayer, I think on top of all the regular stuff that's going on inside his head, the painting will also have some clue about the Mind Flayer heading into Season 5. So big reminder, Stranger Things Season 5 has already been confirmed as the final season. Season 4 Part 2, the rest of the episodes are just about them defeating the Vecna and then teasing whatever the final battle is going to be against the Mind Flayer itself. There are only 2 more episodes in Season 4 Part 2, like there are only 9 episodes total, we just got 7. As the trailer says, they're being released July 1st. Supposedly, they were also shooting Season 5 back-to-back with Season 4 so they could get it out faster. So I think the idea is that they'll release Season 5 episodes around this time next year. But if you have any other questions about the other characters or the storylines or what was going on during Season 4 or what's happening in the future, just write them below in the comments. I just posted my brand new Mandalorian Season 3 trailer video. You can click here to learn all about that, and click here for all my Obi-Wan Kenobi episode videos. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.